Hello everyone, welcome to Anime No Me, and thank you for joining us for another One Piece video. Currently, Buggy the Clown is one of the most wanted characters in the world, and somehow he managed to become a Yonko together with Luffy, but his real achievements have not been revealed yet. Now this could mean that Buggy managed to find something very valuable, allowing the world government to consider Buggy a world threat, and thus granting him the title of Yonko, but it also could be something else that he did while there's been this void in the world with the loss of Whitebeard, and also now with the fall of Big Mom and Kaido. So in today's video, we're going to talk about Buggy, how he may have managed to become a Yonko, and what this thing Buggy may have found that made the world government fear his power might be. But before we head into the big top to talk more about our favorite pirate clown, if you're new to the channel, we'd be absolutely honored if you consider leaving us a like, or even subscribing with a comment letting us know what you thought of the video. It really helps us out and motivates us to make more content, and if you'd like to help out the channel in a bigger way, consider sharing the video or the channel with a friend. But without further ado, let's go to this circus and get into this video. So friends, whichever name you know him by, whether it be Buggy the Clown, Buggy the Star Clown, Buggy the Genius Jester, or even Chairman Buggy, either way you slice it, he is a great pirate for not really having his fame recognized all over the world. And despite his lack of fame, he still had a 15 million berry bounty. And now that he's become a Yonko, it's got to have increased even more. And not only Buggy's bounty, but his crew as well. During his journey as a pirate, there have been several events that have made him recognized all over the world. The main one and the most important is that he was a former crew member of our pirate king, Goldie Roger. So together with Shanks, he was an apprentice on Roger's ship, what allowed them to gain great fame in the future after people knew that these two characters once knew Roger and were a part of his crew. After the Battle of the Best in Marineford, where the Marines discovered that Buggy was in fact a part of Roger's crew, he's invited to be a Shishibukai, or a warlord of the sea, becoming even more famous around the world. But after the rulers of the kingdoms got together in our last revel and decided to abolish the warlord system, he ceased to be a pirate protected by the world government and has gone back to being just a pirate who had a considerably large reputation around the world. But something surprising has happened during the time while the Straw Hats have been in Wano facing down Kaido and Big Mom. Now we don't know exactly how it happened, but Buggy got a lot of recognition in the world for having done or found something very powerful. In these final chapters of the Wano arc, we saw that Luffy had indeed become a Yonko after defeating Kaido. But then we also wondered about Law and Kid, for when they faced Big Mom and took her down, we thought that either of those two could have become a Yonko instead of Big Mom. But something unexpected happened instead. Law and Kid did not become Yonko. So who became the new Yonko after the defeat of Big Mom? Was Buggy the Clown. Something that the characters and even us fans of One Piece were quite surprised, because although it's been speculated and some in the community have even predicted that Buggy could in fact become a Yonko, none of us really thought it would happen. No one would have imagined that one of Luffy's first enemies that appeared in the Orangetown arc all the way back at the beginning of our story could be a Yonko today. But Buggy has, since his appearance, has not shown that he's really that powerful of a character or that he could become a great danger in the future. But despite all of our kind of naysaying and denial, he is currently proving to be a very important character who will end up playing a very big role in the story after all. And also we do know that Buggy is one of Oda's favorite characters, and so it's possible that he made him a Yonko for some reason other than the comedic value. So he will somehow help or hinder the future advances of the Straw Hats. At the beginning, they may have been enemies, but during the confrontation in Marineford, both Buggy and the Straw Hats united to save Ace. Also, we don't know if Buggy is Luffy's enemy again, so it's hard to know if Buggy will be an enemy that gets in the way of Luffy getting the One Piece treasure, or if he's going to end up being an ally and some kind of helpful way in the future. But if you think about it, there is a really good possibility that he'll end up being an ally of Luffy during the great conflict between the pirates and the Marines that may be coming at the end of this Wano arc, as the final stage of the One Piece manga and saga is now about to begin. There's only one road poneglyph remaining for Luffy to get to find Laugh-Tale's location, and there are also several other organizations moving in for different purposes. Now first we have the Revolutionaries, who've really kind of kept themselves on the down low, but now that it seems to be coming out that it may have been Sabo that lost his life during the revelry, we're going to see them come out of the woodwork and maybe find out a bit more about what they're out to do. We also have Teach and other pirates also starting their own plans to become the greatest of pirate crews in the world, as well as the Marines, the world government, and SSG preparing for this new and probably final conflict to come. So with all of these different factions coming together, we could see a return of an alliance between Buggy and Luffy. But this time it's not just going to be between two pirate crews, but the alliance of two Yonko, the most feared pirates in the world. And this might cause the world government to order the Marines or the SSG to use all their strength to stop these two Yonkos and their crews. Because if you think about it, seeing Luffy Luffy and Buggy together again wouldn't only be interesting, but really kind of fun to see again. Thinking back to Marineford, Buggy was a really active participant, and during that conflict, he ended up winning the admiration of all of those prisoners who were trapped, although he really had no idea who had freed them. By helping these prisoners, many of them ended up joining his crew after the Marineford conflict, which allowed him to have a very powerful crew of new companions. The way it went down is because Buggy and Luffy and the rest were escaping from Impel Down and got to Marineford, they realized that where they ended up, that the ground was all frozen because Aokiji had used his ice fruit powers to stop a tsunami that had just been caused by Whitebeard. So since they were stuck in ice, Luffy had the idea to slide the ship down the slope of the frozen wave. However, when they rushed to move the ship, the ice below them gave way, and the ship, along with all the escaped pirates, ended up falling exactly at the battle in Marineford where they had to start fighting all the Marines. After Luffy and Ivankov started fighting Admiral Kizaru, Buggy started freaking out and said that he'd wished to leave the conflict. However, the fugitives that Buggy had supposedly freed misunderstood him, thinking that he said he wanted to kill Kizaru, and thus immediately admired him. So as this plays out, the prisoners start getting restless and want to see Buggy lead them into battle against Whitebeard before Luffy takes all the glory for having defeated some important character like the admirals or some marine superior. So Whitebeard ends up seeing Buggy, and he sees that he's close by and calls him over and offers him an alliance to help him defeat the sailors that were hindering his crew from advancing and rescuing Ace. So Whitebeard asks Buggy to help him just in this fight, and after the end of the fight, Whitebeard would allow Buggy to go after him to take his life and get great fame in the world. So of course Buggy accepts this proposal because he really is interested in getting the level of fame that Whitebeard had. And Buggy and Whitebeard form this alliance and go on to defeat Marines and try and save Ace with Luffy's help. As the scene continues to play out, Luffy ends up leading Whitebeard's pirates towards Ace's execution platform, while Buggy is leading the fugitives and released prisoners into battle to bring glory to his name. So Luffy and Buggy were advancing almost together towards Ace, but really in different directions, kind of trying to handle all of the Marines around them. So as the charge happens, we then see the scene shift to a battle going on between Crocodile and Doflamingo, who are fighting each other. And Buggy, while advancing, is caught by a sand tornado that is thrown by Crocodile without even realizing it. And this stopped him from being able to follow Luffy to the place where Luffy was headed. But Buggy then starts to fly away. While flying, Buggy is then caught by Luffy, and he ends up using his body to stop Mihawk's sword strike. Because as we know, although Luffy's body is strong, his fruit gives him a kind of a weakness towards swords and sharp objects. So he ends up using Buggy's body so that Mihawk couldn't hurt him. We see then Buggy get very annoyed with Mihawk for cutting him, and he ends up throwing a Buggy ball at him, only for Mihawk to deflect it back at Buggy and have it detonate on him, which means he's stunned for kind of a short time. In usual Buggy fashion, he's able to quickly recover from the explosion with only minor injuries, and his followers end up filming him with a video snail that they were able to get from Impel Down, with the attention of possibly thousands of people on it. Buggy took the opportunity to introduce himself and proclaim himself to the public watching the broadcast of that confrontation in the Sabati archipelago. But before he could say much more about what was going on in Marineford, Aokiji quickly interrupts the broadcast and freezes Buggy and his men with his ice power. Thankfully, the freezing doesn't last very long, and the whole group is defrosted shortly afterwards when Admiral Akainu attacked a lava ball with his magma fist, and Buggy swears revenge in that moment against the Marines so that his followers would be even more excited about their new captain. The video snail, or Denden Mushi, then comes back to consciousness and allows Buggy to begin broadcasting himself and his plot to overthrow Whitebeard to the citizens of the Sabati archipelago once again. But once Buggy sees that Ace and Whitebeard lost their lives during the fight, he starts to get really afraid about what could happen to him if he stays there much longer. So he decides to flee from this fight to ensure his survival. Buggy's new followers, of course, see that he's running away, but don't consider this an act of cowardice, but really out of respect, and they think that Buggy was retreating out of a great respect for Whitebeard because he considered him a worthy pirate. So as Buggy and company slowly began to retreat, they retreated slow enough that the Whitebeard pirates, who of course were still alive and very much in the fight, didn't seem to look as outnumbered as they were. But before Buggy could get too far, as he's flying away, a severely injured Luffy and Jinbei fly into his arms after being propelled by one of Crocodile's sandstorms, and this forces Buggy to avoid Akainu's relentless attacks. But as Buggy panicked about what to do with Luffy and Jinbei, he suddenly spots Trafalgar Law and his submarine near. So Buggy decides to take Jinbei and Luffy so that Law can rescue them. And then, almost as if by some sort of miracle, Shanks arrives at the Marineford confrontation, and he takes Luffy's straw hat and gives gives it to Buggy to give to Luffy after he wakes up, and as a reward, he gives Buggy a treasure map. But when Buggy sees the map, he gets angry with Shanks. But it also could be that this map could be one of the reasons why Buggy could have become a Yonko, because he may have not realized at first, but the map could have guided him to some treasure or even some kind of weapon or tool. Aside from the One Piece, in this world, we've heard of many other treasures, including the treasure of Captain John, so this could have been something that would have made him and his crew even stronger, or even one of the 3 ancient weapons in which he could possess an immensely destructive power. So it may have been in this way that Buggy was able to gain fame in the world that made the world government consider him to be an even greater threat than that of Law or Kid. But somehow, Buggy managed to conquer many territories, or at least managed to obtain some amount of power in which the world government now fears. Because let's be real, I mean, we love ourselves a good pirate clown, but this has got to be one of the only ways in which Buggy could have become a Yonko. And what really remains is for us to see what portends in the return of the manga after the hiatus, in which a new saga of One Piece will begin, the final saga in which we'll get to see these immensely great conflicts and revelations and all of our beloved characters come together in the final scenes of this story that we love so much. But for now, friends, I'd love to know what you think about it. What do you think that Buggy did that got the world government on notice? Do you think it's something serious, or do you think he's more of a placeholder because they didn't want to give kinda the flowers to, say, Law or Kid, or even go up to 5 warlords? Let us know what you think in the comments below. So friends, as we wrap things up for today, I want to thank you all so much for watching the video all the way to the very end. Be sure to comment on any themes or ideas that you'd like to see in future videos. And also, since you made it this far, why don't you give us a like before you head out to take on the rest of your day. Hope to see you all in our next video, and let's keep sailing this giant sea together. Take care, and have yourself a wonderful day.